Hey everyone,
Hello, everyone.
you got a notification?
Not at the
Yes,
moment.
it's come
Haven't.
up. Yeah,
Oh, did it come up?
yeah, it's come up
Oh, yeah,
now.
it has now.
So must be in one of the groups.
Yeah.
So hi everyone. Yeah, last week we went live. Oh, not like was it last week?
Or the
I
week
think it was
before? Can't
last week.
remember.
We went live, but because it was like, thank you, Stanislava. It was just via YouTube and not on Facebook. So but yeah, so that's that. Sorry, we done a live a little while ago, and I just kind of like stumbled on my words. So I'm going to try not to stumble on my words this time, but I feel a little bit like I don't know, a bit all over the place. So today we're talking about like effective communication, and it's something that is just generally within our life, professionally and personally. So we're kind of going to be speaking about it from all different aspects. I'm going to talk about kind of professionalism, and Nicki's going to talk about like personally and just generally how communication shows up in all areas of our life. And obviously, as we know, there's different forms of communication. So you've got non-verbal and you've got verbal communication, and we may also, or for some people, communicate via sign language. And then you've got also within communication to consider is listening, tone of voice, body language. And I think like in business, because obviously technology is adapted, probably the main ways is going to be a mixture of kind of like all of them, like non-verbal and verbal. But we would communicate via like maybe like a telephone call, or like consultation or whatever, however you kind of run your business. We obviously use platforms like Teams, Zoom, and for us, like ourselves as business owners, we're delivering like a talk now via StreamYard. So there's all different kind of ways. And then obviously we communicate via email, and maybe there's a few other forms, like gone the days of fax machines and that. To remember that. Well, I don't say much because I'm not that old. But obviously it's important. It's the same forms of communication that we use in all areas of our life. And I think that when we use open communication within the work that we do, we form like trust, and this is like with obviously people that you work with. So like for us as therapists, we know that children need to build that trust and that rapport with us, and it's the same as if you're a coach or a counselor, whatever you do, and you have clients that come to you. And also it's the same as any kind of like relationship you have. If you're building a team, you're going to want to have that trust and that rapport with your team, because you're putting a lot of your tasks in the hands of your team that's going to impact your business. So you want to build that trust, and vice versa. They're going to want to have a trust with someone that they're working for. And also it's really important in like with your like with ourselves as entrepreneurs and also our teams. It's important to consider that we all want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. And like this is the same with our clients, our teams, any relationship that we have. And communicating effectively is key to have a successful business, right? If we don't communicate, how do we have a business? We're communicating with all sorts of people, aren't we? And if we're working with a company, you're communicating with your teams, with people within the company, and then you're also communicating with people like externally in your company. So we're always communicating. Whatever we do in life, we're communicating. You're always sharing information and needing to share information with the right people, because if you don't, then there's going to be like miscommunication and things are not going to run as smoothly in business as we would like them to. And also, like when I was saying about if you've got teams and they're doing different roles within your business, and to kind of take, like we outsource things and to take the pressure of us as a business owner, you're going to build the trust. It's really important to be open within your team and the communication with your team members, because it will help with you hitting sales targets. If things are in, like, you know, like you might outsource like a landing page or something that you need. It's going to be a massive part of a launch that's coming up or something. So that's really important to hitting like your sales targets. It's really important as part of productivity, but you also want to, as a leader, and having your team is like motivating them and having effective communication with them, and vice versa. They will then have it back. Like give it back and give it back, you know. It's a two-way communication. See, I am stumbling on my words. Yeah, I think I've said anything kind of what I wanted to say from the like an entrepreneur kind of side of a business.
So, as Christine said as well, communication, effective communication goes through all of the relationships that we have in our life. And when we're children, we learn a lot from our parents. And there's a saying that children imitate what they see and what they hear. And thinking about us as adults, we were children and we've learned from our parents, and that's formed the basis of the way we communicate with others based on what we've seen and what we've heard from our parents as well. So we all need to feel seen, heard and acknowledged and noticed, which Christine has already said. Every single one of us, whether it's as an entrepreneur, whether it's as a parent, as a child, as an intimate relationship, a friend relationship, we all need to feel seen, heard and acknowledged. And we need to talk openly about our thoughts and feelings, because effective communication isn't just about talking, it's about listening, and it's about being honest in how we feel and what we're thinking. And to communicate effectively, we need to be able to do this in a safe space and have our points of view and thoughts and feelings acknowledged, and not to feel judged by them or to feel undervalued and not good enough. So if you are communicating, not if, as an entrepreneur, when you are communicating with your clients and whether you have teams, it's important to be able to let people be able to talk and openly share their thoughts and feelings with you, without you feeling that you have to be defensive towards it and come across in an aggressive way. So it's important to realize how you communicate as well, and how you receive communication. So all of these, if we're open and honest in our communication, we will improve our engagement. We'll improve our engagement with personally and professionally as well. And the more open we are and the more we understand communication, it will then stop miscommunication. So some of the things that we can do is, the first and most important thing is listen, as we've already talked about. Listen is the key skill in communicating effectively, and a lot of people believe that talking and trying to get their point of view across and sharing their ideas and their knowledge and their experience is the most effective way of communicating. And don't get us wrong, it is, and that needs to happen as well. But the most important part of communicating is actually listening, taking time to listen to what the other person is saying. Number one. So then we have to be clear on the communication that we are communicating, or maybe they're communicating, and we don't want to have misunderstanding. Me and Christine have had, I've had a miscommunication in the past with a parent that I was working with, and Christine's had miscommunication that she's experienced today. And instead of reacting at that time, both of us have reacted to a situation where, instead of taking time to stop and then let the land lie a little bit, for even for a few hours, and then respond instead of react, the outcome could have been a lot better. And also it would stop us feeling like we weren't valued. So that's something that I learned when I was with one of my clients, as I say, talking to the parents. I probably learned that about 3 years ago now, and it really shook me up, because I don't come across as an aggressive person, and I was really upset that they misinterpreted my communication, but it was my fault. So I really had to take a step back and look at how I was communicating. So to stop miscommunication, we can actually reflect back to gauge someone's understanding of what we meant. So we could say to them, did you mean this when you said this? And vice versa, that could happen back. So if you communicated something, you could say to your client or team member, tell me what I've just said, or tell me what I meant by that, just so I can test to see whether you understand what I meant and I'm getting my communication right. So it's a two-way thing where you're testing each other just to see whether you've both understood where the other person was coming from. As we've said before, allowing time to talk, for the other person to talk and for you to listen, is one of the key things that will help effective communication. When we go in full guns blazing and want to be seen ourselves and want to be the person that does all the talking, then that is not communicating effectively. We're not showing that we are able to listen to other people. So we want to encourage people for their point of view. We want to encourage our team members. We want to encourage our clients. We want to encourage our children, our partners, our friends, for their point of view, for their ideas. We want them to show us. We want to see what they can bring to the conversation, to whatever the situation is. And we want to do all of this using a soft tone of voice. We experience in the therapy work that we do that some people can come across as, and as an entrepreneur as well, some people can come across as quite aggressive and have a loud booming voice. And actually, when we speak in a more slower paced voice and a softer tone of voice, it helps a person to feel, I suppose, automatically comfortable, and it doesn't come across that you're being aggressive to that person. So really think about your tone of voice and how you speak to people, because what I've learned, and I've always said this to my youngest daughter, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So you could say the nicest of things that you didn't mean it to be offensive in any way, but the tone of your voice and the way you say it really makes a difference. So just be aware of how you say something, and vice versa. You can be thinking about how your clients or your teams or whoever in your life says something back to you as well. Avoid blame. We tend to, when something gets miscommunicated, hands up, done it and still do it at times, but learning along the way, as no one's perfect, are we? We always learn along the way. And when we miscommunicate, we automatically become defensive and we want to defend ourselves. But that means that we're attacking that person and we're trying to divert the blame onto them. It was their fault. The parent that I miscommunicated with, I could have blamed them and said it was their fault. It was the way they said it. They shouldn't have been like that. They shouldn't have said that to me. And Christine, with her experience today, she could have blamed the other person as well. It was their fault. It was the way they done it. They're not professional. But we know that it's important that we don't deflect the blame, but we then look at ourselves. It's how we've communicated it or not communicated it, maybe. So don't blame others. Don't try to defend yourself. Take it that you've miscommunicated something somewhere, and it's something that you need to fix or need to be aware of when you're communicating it again. So avoid blame. We also want to empower people, and how we empower people is like what we've just spoken about. We want to ask for their ideas, ask your team members for their ideas, let them share their beliefs, let them share their experiences, because everyone in business, especially if you have teams, everyone has their own expertise, knowledge and experience, and you want all of that expertise and knowledge and experience brought into your business, and you're not going to know what their experience, knowledge, expertise is if you don't empower them and let them use it and know what all of this is. Likewise, we can do this in our personal life with our husbands, partners. We can do it with our children, we can do it with the rest of our family, and we can do it with our friends as well. Empowering people is a great way of using effective communication. Christine's already spoken about body language, but we don't want to use we don't want to use non-threatening body language. So we want to use non-threatening body language. So if you are angry or frustrated or upset with either someone in your business or personally, instead of putting your hands on your hips or waving a finger, or your facial expressions are not very positive, then we want to try and make sure that we are aware of our own body language, because that affects communication. If you've got someone that is really angry and using this sort of body language, then automatically, as the receiver of that, you are going to become very defensive. So we're not going to get the best communication at that point. We're going to create lose-lose scenarios instead of creating win-win scenarios. So be aware of your body language, and also on the other side, when you're communicating with someone, be aware of their body language, because you can tell a lot by someone's communication through their facial expressions and their body language. So just be aware of it and take time to notice. If you can see someone that you're talking to is having threatening body language or facial expressions, maybe you could try to diffuse the situation and bring them down. So instead of creating a lose-lose scenario, then you're sort of bringing them around, so then you can then create a win-win solution instead. So notice as well, talking about body language, notice as well how this manifests in your body. So when you maybe have experienced a miscommunication, do you feel this miscommunication? Do you feel the emotion in your body? You might get a racing heart, Christine did today. You may feel frustrated or angry. You might feel sick. You may get a tummy ache. You may feel a bit anxious or stressed. So feel it in your body and notice where you feel it in your body, because it's important that we are aware of ourselves and how we hold on to all of these things. Did you want to share your experience, Christine?
No, it was just something that had happened today at school. I've actually had an email before we came live, in between when we come off our other one, Nicki. I've actually had an email, and it was just they forgot. So it was not miscommunication, but just completely forgot where he was and just thought he was missing. But anyway, like it kind of like it made me frustrated, and it kind of made me feel I was devalued in what I did and what I offered. And I guess I felt that I wasn't seen, heard and acknowledged for my role in the school. And I've been there since March, but I've kind of felt like that from the beginning. And maybe it's just the assumption that I am. Maybe again it's me. I need to change the way I communicate, and I need to shift that. Maybe it's tension that I'm now going with every Thursday that's in my body, and I'm thinking, so yeah, it's interesting to kind of be aware of it, really. But it was definitely something that I did, because it kind of set me back for the rest of the day, really. And I just couldn't wait to get out of there. And I needed to send an email, but I was so frustrated and upset. I mean, feeling a bit emotional for other things going on in my life at the moment anyway. I just felt kind of emotional that I felt that I couldn't then speak to them in person, because I would probably cry and then feel silly about it, which is fine. It's okay to cry. But now when I've received the email, it's like I probably would have looked really silly if I'd cried, even though it wasn't my fault and they was very apologetic. It would have made me look stupid crying over something that was, oh, do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just sometimes you just need to take that kind of time back, and I will still approach it and have a conversation about it next week, because I've taken the week away and then I've gone back in and with a new kind of, not perspective, but you know, it's a new week, it's a new day, isn't it? So yeah.
And it's important that you don't hold on to all of these things as well, because that can sabotage us. And then, like you say, if you hold it, you need this week away, and that's fine. And you'll go in with a fresh new pair of eyes on Thursday, and you won't let that then affect your day in school, because otherwise it all manifests, doesn't it? And we hold on to it, and then we're not communicating effectively at all then, are we? Because it's just a continuous process of it.
So even though I've communicated non-verbally via email, I will still communicate verbally. But I guess sending that email and actually having a response, bearing in mind this person's not very good with emailing back, so I'm very grateful that I have had an email, and has kind of allowed me to relax, because I've got other children to see prior to Thursday, and it kind of, I've got something personal in my life tomorrow. I've got the weekend that I want to kind of enjoy and relax, and maybe if I hadn't addressed it at all, I would have felt rubbish like the next week. So I've addressed it, and then maybe I can address it again verbally like next week, or approach it differently around thinking about how I communicate and new ways that I can kind of build that rapport with staff, so then they know who I am and know what I do. And do you know what I mean? So there's just so many different aspects that you can really think about, and it's just so important.
It is really important. And other forms of communication are love language.
Sorry, I waffled on them.
No, you didn't. No, it's important to share, isn't it? So love languages, there are 5 different love languages, and these love languages are how we each have a more predominant love language in how we like to be communicated with. So I'll go through each of them. So the first one is words of affirmation. So the person whose predominant love language is words of affirmation, they like hearing things like I love you and you're great and I'm here for you. They like hearing words to make them feel good. That's how they communicate. So another one is receiving gifts. So their part of communication is they like gifts, and it doesn't mean that they like expensive gifts, but their best form of communication is when they receive gifts. So it could be a little note that has been written for them. It could be a little gift that is sentimental, that is being left by somebody. So they like being communicated in this way. Another one is physical touch, and this doesn't mean just intimacy. It means a stroke of the hand or holding hand. It could be playing with someone's hair. It could be a rub on the back or shoulder, something like that, a touch of the knee. This person likes physical touch as part of their communication. The next one is quality time. So the person that likes the quality time doesn't care about any of the other things. They just like spending quality time with that person. That's how they like communicating. And the last one is acts of service. So this is they like having things done for them. So they like communicating by someone doing things for them. So it could be someone putting a wash on for them. It could be someone in business taking a workload off of them and saying, just to let you know, I've done X, Y, Z already, so you don't have to. It could be your children doing the hoovering or something like that. So they liked an acts of service to show that they are valued and feel valued and loved. So all of these things can be the love languages, forms of communication, and they can also be used during business as well as personal. So it could be that you look at your maybe even your clients, or maybe if you do have a team as an entrepreneur, you look at how they like being communicated with. Do they like words of affirmation? Do they like being told that they're doing things well, that they are good at their job? Do they like receiving small sentimental gifts, or maybe even bigger gifts? Do they like a physical touch? Do they like being hugged when you see them, or a kiss on the cheek? Do they like just spending quality time with you? So is that what makes them feel loved and valued? Or is it that they like things done for them? They like things being taken away from them and someone else doing them for them. So think about that in your life, how the love languages fit into communication. And as Christine said at the beginning, ultimately, communication is important in all areas of our life, and if we don't have effective communication, this is where that we get the misunderstandings, we get the negativity, and this is we can lose clients, we can lose team members, we can lose friends over miscommunication. So just bear in mind how you communicate, and like we said, avoid the blame and take on how you can communicate more effectively. Did you want to add anything else on, Christine?
No, we haven't got. Has anyone got any questions? Stanislava has said, "Oh, like that's true." That she's kind of agreeing with what we've been saying. So I don't know if there's anyone else on live in the places that we're talking. And if you've got any questions,
pop them below if you do.
Yeah.
And if you catch up on replay, just put them in the comments below if you have.
And we'll get back to you. So I don't know. I think it's just Stanislava that is live. So yeah, if you watch it on replay and you've got any questions or this resonates with you, and I think it's probably a good way to start thinking about like how you communicate and with the various people in your life and how you communicate through running your business. I think that's a good kind of thing to start kind of thinking about, isn't it? And reflecting on.
Definitely. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.